home studio albums that span 4 decades, the Titans of Thrash remain the standard by which all other metal is measured. We begin with a 1984 classic from their second album, For Whom the Bell Tolls, followed by the 1992 tour anthem, Wherever I May Roam. And then, let's turn down the house and light up the stage with the Auburn University Marching Band and their show, Metallica.
Boy, oh boy, Auburn versus Houston, reaction time. What a game it was. Whew, it lived up to it, folks. We're going to talk about it here. My scoreboard thing hasn't shown final yet, so that's making me sweat a little bit. But let's move forward with the show. Our reactions to the score, the stats, the storylines, all that coming up right now. War Eagle, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of E2C Network Live, where we get together, we sit down, and we discuss, share in the Auburn experience. All about the Auburn sports, the Auburn culture, the Auburn family stuff. An easier way to say it, though, is if it's orange and blue, it's what we do. So thank you so much for joining us in what we're going to be doing today here in our live reaction show for Auburn men's basketball, 4th game of the season, Auburn versus Houston, the #1 team in all of college football right now. And your Auburn Tigers take them down to the wire with a final shot, but fall 73-72 in Birmingham. The Houston Cougars get revenge for last year, us getting the win in Houston. But what a game it was. What a time it was. And I think it answered a lot of questions for folks in terms of, is Auburn capable of competing with the best in college basketball this league in this year? And the answer of that is, based off of current information, absolutely. So we're going to talk about it, break it down, get some commentary from you all as well. The goal here is to go through the score, the stats, the storylines as we go throughout our conversation today in our post-game reaction show. We'd love for you, those of you that are watching live, to start off the show by making sure you hit that like button. The share button as well is always helpful. And announce yourself into the chat, especially if you're live. If you're on the replay, you can obviously drop a comment if you'd like to do that. We'd love to hear from you throughout the stream. We'll bring up some of your commentary as it's appropriate and as best we can towards the end of the show too. Now, obviously, I know there is just the initial disappointment of a loss after this. So there's the emotions of it. There is the questions of what if, do you do this? What if you do that? Maybe we can glean a little bit of that as we walk through individual team stats and talk about where some things probably Auburn missed on, other than just a couple of shots here. Really just one shot by the score, 73-72, falling to Houston in Birmingham this time. If you were in Birmingham, you were treated to March Madness level of play and competition. You got your money's worth today. So for those of you that got the chance to attend, I am extremely jealous of you. So I hope that you took full advantage of that and enjoyed the heck out of it, even though the loss is not what you wanted today. So let's start walking through it a little bit here. What I want to know in this game, though, even in a loss, first one of the year for Auburn men's basketball in 25-26, and the first one of the Stephen Pearl era, I want to know from you, who is your player of the game? Yes, you can give players of the game, even if it's somebody on the other team, player of the game to someone on Auburn too, if you want to give a shout, and shout outs throughout, obviously. But if you've got a player of the game, that's something to let us know in the chat so we can kind of get a gauge of where everybody's mind's at right now. Let's start doing it. Individual stats. Your leading scorer tonight, no shock here, Keyshawn Hall with 20 points. 11 rebounds, quite the day for him with a double-double, 1 assist, 3 personal fouls, 2 turnovers, 29 minutes of play, and unfortunately goes down with that injury. I can't watch ankle injuries. I can't do it, or lower leg, whatever it was. I can't do it. I've had too many of them myself. I'll be honest with you. When Keyshawn went down, and then Houston came in and hit that 3 right after he got his free throws and then stepped out, I thought that was it. But the Tigers battled back, which shows you again the makeup of this team and the ability to do some things even when currently your best player is not on the floor, not able to go at full steam. So obviously we would love for him to finish that thing out, but we'll hopefully that rest, he already got started on that and can make sure that he's okay. Well, I'm sure we'll get an update from coach on that post game and in the days to come before the next one. But your leading scorer tonight, no shocker here, is Keyshawn Hall with those 20 points, 6 for 16. He doesn't make any 3-pointers on the day, but he's 100% from the free throw line. So absolutely outstanding for him today. I can't even bring up a lot of y'all's comments just because it's kind of the repeat, but it's all good stuff. What a game, a heck of a game. I mean, just giving you a shout out in general here, how much you guys really like this. Here's one from Clay. Kudos to the Tigers here. Taking number one team down, or not down, excuse me, down to the wire. So obviously there's a recognition amongst the fan base by and large of what a feat this was to nearly get the win. And I believe they did not have the lead the entire second half, which they were able to get a few times in the first half. So that's commendable as well, to be still in the game. They could have laid down and given up. Keep going through the individual stats here. Your second leading scorer tonight is Tahad Pettiford. 15 points, 5 for 14 from the field, 3 for 8 from the 3-point arc, 2 for 3 from the free throw line, 1 rebound, 1 assist, 1 turnover, 32 minutes of play. Now, the big conversation's been happening a lot. That is Tahad in a sophomore slump? Is something wrong? When's he going to get going? You know, his teammates are getting asked about this in press conferences. You know, people do go through slumps, quote unquote. How big or small those are is up for just interpretation. But today he has a game that very much returns him to form. I forget how many blocks he had. Let me pull his further stats up. He had 2 blocks, 2 steals on the day as well. So I think given the context of how his year has gone so far, this is his best game by far, just not just in scoring, but across the board. He's had a few more assists in a few games, but this is an outstanding game for Tahad Pettiford. I would probably give him my player of the game, even with Keyshawn being the leader here. It's kind of like Janai last year. We're having this situation where Keyshawn is just doing this every single game. So you kind of just anticipate it, right? Like you just know that he's made the benchmark so high for us to be further impressed. And it sounds bad to say, but further impressed, you almost have to have him do more. So to me, just kind of initially, given what Tahad was able to do tonight, I'm probably going to lean a little bit into him being my player of the game, if that makes sense tonight. Okay, keep rolling through here. Your only other scorer tonight in double digits, 13 points, Kevin Overton, 2 for 7 from the field, 2 for 5 from the 3-point arc. He has 7 of 11 free throws, 5 rebounds, only 1 turnover, 1 assist. So pretty strong day for him as well. Kevin's kind of found his sweet spot of hitting double digits quite often and being kind of an all-purpose guard. So I really like what I see out of Kevin Overton. So that's your top 3 scorers, and all 3 are in double digits for Auburn this evening. You've got Keyshawn Hall, Tahad Pettiford, and Kevin Overton. Again, as we go through these individual stats, if there's a point that you want to make about one of the particular, we can park it for a second, but I'll do my best to monitor the chat for some of those things in the chat right now. Clay says this is Keyshawn and Pettiford's team. You can tell how the players, how well they're respected by it. And I would agree with that. It's Tahad's team in inheritance, right? Keyshawn has come in and made it his team, his leadership role, and you can tell how the guys really lean on that. And I'd say you probably have already some of those unsung leaders. I love, as much as I wanted Keyshawn Murphy to get off the ground there at the end, you can understand just the frustration and disappointment for him at the end there, just coming so close. So I think he's probably someone else who has that locker room leadership quality as well. Let's look at Keyshawn tonight. 7 points, 3 for 6 from the field, 1 for 2 from the free throw line, 5 rebounds, 3 assists for Keyshawn Murphy today as a big man. No turnovers for him, 31 minutes of play. And this is his first game returning since he's been either limited or sidelined from those early injuries. So he plays a full 31 minutes. It'll be interesting to see if there's any commentary from coach from him about how he feels after this one. So yeah, that'll be something to monitor. There's a couple injuries here that keep kind of creeping up on some of the key Auburn players at this point. Hunter wants to ask, do we agree with the no call on the final play of the game? I have to look at it a little bit closer. I found I shouldn't say very. I found few things to be really disappointed with on the referee side of things, but certainly you do wonder sometimes why the calls don't seem to feel like they don't go when we when we need them to go a certain way. But Keyshawn tonight certainly. Keyshawn Murphy had a decent game in his returning. Can we talk about Elijah Freeman for a second? I'm surprised no one has just said play of the game, Elijah Freeman. Posterized two of Houston's better players in Sanak, and I think it was Tugler also got caught up in the posterization. He has 7 points on the day, 3 for 8, 1 for 3 from the three-point arc. Doesn't make his free throw. The single one he had, but 3 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 turnovers, 3 personal fouls, and 30 minutes of play. I think I may have had that wrong, but two personal fouls. Elijah Freeman had a pretty good game as well. Decent game. Maybe won a little bit more scoring, especially after he had a 20-point one out there. But how about that play? That's the play of the game right there, I think. That posterization of 2 of the prominent players for Houston. And I would just park it for a second right on here and say, do y'all remember some of these names from this Houston team last year? Uzan, Tugler, Sharp. I feel like a few of them also were still there that I'm probably not remembering as well. But these are some of the primary ones that took Florida down to the wire in the championship game, and Auburn could have faced if they had been able to hang on and beat Florida in the Final Four game. Look, Auburn just went up against a really good team, and some of these big names here. They have 4 guys in double digits. Flemings tonight is the one that really went off. So you wonder if Flemings doesn't go off the way he had, if this is a little bit different of a game tonight. All right, keep walking through some of the individuals here that we haven't talked about on Auburn's side. I think we have made it all the way through the starters: Pettiford, Overton, Murphy, Freeman, and Hall. Yes. Not much on the bench tonight. It'll be interesting to see when we get to the actual bench points conversation. I think I can calculate it right here, though. Abdul Bashir and Blake Musialit don't get any points tonight. Neither does Jovic, but he was in foul trouble early and not able to play as much. He only ends up with 2 personal fouls, but I think that kind of brought him out of the cycling a little bit in this game. The only bench points tonight come from Caden Magwood with his 3. And then Sebastian Williams-Adams, who certainly tonight, I think the big knock on him is going to be his free throws, but he had some really big plays, being very efficient, 2 for 2. And he did get a few of his free throws, 4 rebounds, a big dunk or 2 that really brought at crucial moments. So certainly some room for improvement for him as an individual, but something that we always need to take stock of in being the criticism that we put out there, but also what they did do well. Let's see here. This is from WT. He says Auburn basketball is in good hands with Pearl. He had the team battling to the last second. I always stress that we don't build huge narratives so early in the season, but let's talk about what WT means here. So you've got the first 3 games where, once again, a little bit overreaction to the first game and a little context needed there with how decent Bethune might be by the end of the season in terms of who they play against and all that kind of stuff. They take care of business against the other 2. This is your first true known test. And I think Auburn, you can't say they passed it, I guess, because they didn't win, but you didn't fail in the sense of the court of public opinion. You certainly looked worthy of it, especially when your key player, Keyshawn, went down when he did. And it was could have been a huge momentum swing that took Auburn out of the game, and they weren't able to overcome that one, but they were tonight. So that's commendable. So one thing I want to continue to note, and I think it's very interesting that Blake Musialit is still getting to play a little bit more. You have got I'm blanking on his name right now. We've got a guard that's not playing a lot right now while he works through his injury he had early in the year. It'll be interesting to see if he gets to continue to play. There's only 1 minute, but he's getting to play every game this season. So I'm happy to see him get his opportunities. Let's see here. A little commentary about the stand stuff. Did y'all see the video of Bruce in the stand staying out yelling at the refs? Look, you can take the coach out of the game, but you can't take the game out of the coach, right? He is going to be doing that no matter what. Bruce Pearl is still the greatest basketball coach in Auburn history, and we're going to love seeing him there whenever we can certainly have him there. This is Devin says that Jovic is not there yet, bit of a liability right now. I disagree that he's a liability. I think he is certainly needing a little bit more time, and you've heard me say this before, Devin. I think he does need more time in general, just because of the fact that he got here a little bit later and he's adjusting to a different style of game. Certainly you can make the case that others were liabilities. Sebastian Williams-Adams Sway tonight was a little bit of liability from the free throw line, but give him some time. I think the skill set is there for Jovic, and I think we'll definitely need him. A lot of the people have concerns about Auburn's height, true big man narrative that's out there. So any type of guy that you can have out there that's got a little size to him is going to be helpful to at least quell the fan fears about that type of narrative. All right, so that's the individual stuff, okay? If there's someone that we didn't talk about enough, if there's a moment in the game, a play by a player we didn't discuss enough, please do bring that up here on the live portion of the show. We can come back around to it, and I'm sure we'll revisit some things here. But where we really want to spend the rest of our time while we continue to work in a few of the stories from the game is the team stats. You know what we're going to do here, and I can pretty much tell you what I'm about to see. We look at all the team stats, but we emphasize three things here. The big three stats. Staying with me. Turnovers, free throws, and rebounds. If you win those categories, if you win all three, you should be in a pretty good position to win the game. If you are winning 2 out of the 3 of those, you probably are in good shape to win the game, but still things cannot go your way. This is not a like hard and fast rule. This is just kind of a ballpark. You win one of those, you got a shot. You don't win any of them, it pretty much shows you're not going to win the game. Let's see how it resulted. Free throws. Houston, 83% from the field. 64% from the field for Auburn. Not good. That is one loss for them. Turnovers. That one does flip in the favor of Auburn. Houston turned the ball over there a little bit more than I was expecting in the final minutes, which is so odd for them. 10 for Houston, 8 for Auburn, helping you build that narrative that Auburn had a shot to win this game. Rebounds, the margin got closer at the end of the game. Houston was really starting to create some spread there. If you watch that, I think we even noted it on X. Rebounds 40 for Houston, 37 for Auburn. They win that category, but very close. So really just amongst those three ones that we focus on, the biggest difference, 83 to 64 and almost 20% differential there on free throws. That might be the stat of the game until the tape. And how often do we sit here talking about crucial games, free throws being the thing that wins and loses, not just games, but championships. So there's your big three stats, how it all worked out for Auburn versus Houston, and I think it tells a lot. Now, if there's something that sticks out to you in these stats that you really want to harp on or talk about, don't be afraid to drop that in here, and we can try to expound on that just a little bit more. Shooting tonight, a little bit flipped here, actually. Field goal percentage very much in the favor, well, a little bit in the favor of Houston, 43 to 39%. Flip it. Three-point percentage, 29 to 32 in Auburn's favor. I think we're going to see this throughout the rest of the team stats. Back and forth, back and forth. Let's see if it checks out. Already talked about the big three here. We'll look at second chance points, 11 to 13 in Auburn's favor. Ironically, and I'm shocked at this now that I'm looking at that, bench points tonight were at a premium for both teams. Auburn wins that with only 10 points to bench points of 5 for Houston. So you can see how top-heavy Houston is, at least based off of this game and this performance. But everybody else on their bench didn't really do a whole lot. Some of them played some significant minutes. So it's not as bad for Auburn when you look at that in the grand scheme of things. So they win that one as well. Points in the paint in the favor of Houston by 4. Fast break points tied. Blocks more for Houston, and they got a bunch of those at the end, but still probably would have won that category. Steals, that's in the favor of Houston by 2. Assists, 15 to 11. That's in Houston's favor. And then just kind of some final notes. Time tied 10 times. There were 8 lead changes. Auburn only led for 4-12. So why do I bring all this stuff up every single show? Because it tells you the tale of the tape. And what we're trying to find, other than the big three, maybe it's going to be one of the big three. What's the stat that tells the tale of the tape? We've walked through all of those. If there's one that stuck out to you, and even if it's one of the big three, please put it in the chat and let's see what you guys think about it. The one everybody's going to harp on. And I love that y'all who come to our show harp on this, because y'all know what a stickler I am, is free throws. It's really glaring. It's glaring individually. Sebastian Williams-Adams is going to get picked at that a little bit. Kevin Overton could have made a few more. As a guard, you kind of expected to do that a little bit more, but it's still 7 of 11, and he had a pretty good game otherwise. The rest of the stats, as we walk through them, Auburn won some, Houston won some, Auburn won some surprising ones, and it kind of speaks to the tale of the tape. Where there was a deficit for Auburn, they made it up in other areas, and so did Houston. Where their deficits, they made it up. Really, if you look at the back end of these team stats that we just talked about, blocks, steals, and assists, all of those go into the favor of Houston. So you could make a case as like the defense and the free throws is probably the story. But I mean, let's be honest. 83% for Houston, 64% for Auburn. That's got to be the most important stat of the game, and the one that won everything and lost everything for Auburn and for Houston. Obviously, we know the results, 73 to 72. That's the big stat that I see right here. Good shout out here for Keyshawn in the chat for hitting those free throws on a single ankle. Certainly, most people will say, well, what does it matter? I mean, anything that affects your rhythm and flow in a free throw, and he still made them. He is 8 for 8. Keyshawn Hall is quite the specimen. I'll be eager to hear how he's doing in the post game and all that kind of stuff right now. Latrell says, still think Auburn can win a championship. I don't know if this is a question or a statement. Certainly they could. I mean, they played like they played with the number 1 team, took them down to the wire, had a chance to win it all. And that's all you can ask for, is a chance to win every single thing. Hey folks, we were close. Everybody just cringed. Everybody just cringed. A couple of other commentary here from my name Jake. One thing is for certain, Auburn is much better than those quote unquote experts were making us out to be. Yeah, listen, everybody's entitled to their opinions. I think everybody overreacted to the fact that it's just a hod back, that the fact that Bruce left, but that just tells you that's more of an emotional and things for reactions, and you weren't really looking at how this team had been so successful. Is because Bruce had compiled this team together already, and a lot of that had to do with this staff that's all still here, just under the leadership of his son. And I think they did a pretty bang up job in this very, very huge first test for them. So, look, I'm sure there's going to be some things that even Steven looks back at and goes, yeah, that was not a good call at the end. And maybe even, the last few there. But in your first game against Kelvin Sampson, nearly taking them down, the brand new number 1 team, very impressed with what I saw. Lots to work on, but very impressed. Okay, with the rest of our time, I want to try to take a little bit more commentary from you. We weren't able to do as much, and that usually is the case, but drop stuff in the chat right now. We may go back and look at a few of those things that you posted here, but if there's something especially that you'd like for us to dive into in a little bit more detail, this is your time and your space to do that right now. Last thing that I want to do before we take some more of your commentary, if you have any, is remind you of a few things we've got coming up this week. It's going to be a busy week and a little bit kind of crazy in terms of how the schedule may or may not work out. First off, your first guaranteed next chance to watch us live is going to be Wednesday night. We have a Jackson State game back in Neville Arena. We'll be here to talk about it just like we are now. Join us for that. So subscribe, follow wherever you are so you can be part of that stream. What you'll notice is that's going to collide with our normal Auburn family night that night. Sometimes we're able to move this show around and do some things. I may have a schedule conflict and not be able to do that show earlier. It's usually at 9 Eastern, and that's when the game starts. So for right now, we're going to kind of put that on a tentative, probably not happening, but I'm at least acknowledge that. You will have something Wednesday night. It will most likely just be this post-game reaction, but always stay subscribed and stay following so you know. If you like post-game shows, pre preview shows. We got Auburn versus Mercer Thursday night. Join us for that. We'll do the preview and prediction show. I imagine that's going to be a low attended one because of the interest around the game, but come join us and have some fun predicting how it's going to go. And then we'll not just preview and predict, but we'll do a post-game show from the Mobile Broadcast Studio, aka my car, at the end of Auburn Mercer, and we have a beautiful weekend on the Plains. The Auburn Experience episode 150 after that next Sunday. But don't forget, tonight, 149 is going live at 9 Eastern. You can join us for that too. And I got a lot of announcements tonight. It's just one of those days where everything is flowing through. We want to remind you of our friends at Alumni Hall that you can shop with them. If you're able to do that, you'll through our link that we're going to provide in the chat. It's a way for you to get ahead of your holiday shopping that you need to obviously stay on top of and support Auburn companies and support us as well as an affiliate of theirs. We hope that you will take advantage of that. The link should be in the in everywhere that you can get our links, but right now in the chat for you if you want to take an access of that right now. Okay. All right. What other commentary, what other questions, what other topics do you all want to hit to wrap up our time today? I'm looking through the chat to see if there was anything else to bring up. Corey said this earlier. Looks like we are in for quite the treat for basketball this year. I enjoy seeing the effort. This is a loss. You don't want moral victories, but this is a loss that leaves a better taste in your mouth. And so while no loss tastes good, it's not the worst thing in the world, that could have happened. Latrell says he misses Chad. I'm guessing this is Chad Baker Mazara. That's probably not a name you want to bring up right now, but certainly he was always fun to watch. This is from Yo My Name. I'm proud of the fight they showed. We're a good team and can compete with anyone. Disappointed in the defense, though. I think sometimes that gets. I think people need to define what they mean by I was disappointed in the defense. I think that's just something we can say. You held the number one team in the land to 73 points. Now, I know 73 doesn't sound like a great defensive game. If it was in the 60s, which it almost was, then maybe this looks a little bit different. I mean, tonight, your defensive stats, 2 blocks, 5 steals, rebounding was very comparable. So especially defensive rebounding, the difference of 3 there. They were, a lot of these things speak to that the defense maybe wasn't the best in the world, but it still wasn't the worst thing in the world. This is Fielder's Choice. Yeah, this is a game you can build on, not a loss that you just flush. Absolutely. You don't look at this tape and flush it and just don't even look at it again, or get what you need out of it. This is a tape that you go back to and say, okay, we can take a lot from it. What worked to make us compete with this number one team at the time, and what didn't work to get us over the hump. What you found out tonight is your key players showed up and showed out. But when they went down, one of them, your biggest key, Keyshawn, you still rose to the occasion and found yourself with a chance to win the game, taking some turnovers and things like that at the end too, which speaks to a little bit maybe. I think the defense was a little bit better overall this game. Okay, so if there's any final thoughts before we hop out of here, drop them in now. But we want to remind you again of the final score being 73-72. The Auburn Tigers fall in Birmingham, the return neutral site trip of the one that occurred in Houston. No flight issues, I heard, with Houston this time. I was wondering if I don't think that ever got played up as much as it should have. 73-72 is your final score for Auburn versus Houston. This game felt like you were watching March Madness. The big stat of the game that we talked about that made the biggest difference is the free throws. 83% for Houston, only 64 for Auburn. Shows you the difference between Auburn and Houston, which isn't much based off this score, but that's a big difference in the stats right there. And then personally, I'm going to give the player of the game to Tahad Pettiford. 15 points for him. With 1 rebound, 1 assist. He had 2 blocks, 2 steals. I think he was well-rounded while scoring a little bit more, and we've all been looking for that out of him to start off the year. So it's nice to see him do that on the biggest stage right here. Great point from WT. He might end up seeing Houston in March again, and I kind of hope that we do because I want to get a little bit of revenge, But I'd love to see these two teams match up again because this was fun, a fun basketball game. With that being said, we want to thank you for joining us and being part of our little family within the Auburn family and spending some time with us to talk and react to Auburn versus Houston. And as you go, I want to remind you of these things that the Auburn Creed asks you to do justly, love mercy, and walk humbly with God. We ask you to do the same. War Eagle.